Good evening, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. I need a motion, please, to approve tonight's agenda. Councillor Stevens and Councillor McIntosh, all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Was there any disclosures of direct or indirect pecuniary interest? And seeing none, I do need a motion to go into a closed session. The closed session for tonight's council will be held pursuant to Section 239-2 of the Municipal Act for the purpose of considering the following subject matters. 4.1 and 4.2 are both closed council minutes from February 6th and 13th, respectively. We are also discussing the rail spur land on Centennial Road, which is proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. And 4.4 is our committee appointments, which is personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Andrews and Deputy Mayor Taylor, all in favor? Carried unanimously. We are now in closed. All right, welcome back to the open portion of tonight's meeting. Before we get going, I'm going to ask everyone who is able to please rise for our national anthem.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you very much. We would like to acknowledge the treaty lands and territory of the Williams Treaty Nations and the Mississaugas, the Credit First Nation. We also recognize that Dufferin County is the traditional territory of the Wendat and the Haudenosaunee and is home to many Indigenous people today. Tonight's meeting is being aired on public television and or streamed live and may be taped for later public broadcast or webcast. Your name is part of the public record and will be included in the minutes of this meeting. Any member of the public connecting via telephone is reminded to press *6 to mute and unmute. Please remain muted until the chair requests comments or questions from the public. Before our public meeting tonight, we did have a closed session and we have a rise and report. The recommendation is that the minutes of the 2023 February 6th and 2023 February 13th closed council minutes be approved, and that confidential report CAO-2023-002 Rail Spur Land Centennial Road regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board be received, and that confidential report CPS 2023-13 committee appointments regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, be received, and that the council appoint public members to each of the town boards or committees as follows. Access Orangeville, James Jackson, Paul Charbonneau, Richard Ugolini, Wendy Cook, James Newton, Kim Van Ryn. Age Friendly Committee, Linda Banks, Mike Chapman, Cheryl Hamilton, and Arthi Yucatoni. Committee of Adjustment Dog Designation and Property Standards, Rita Baldessara, Michael Demsur, Ashley Harris, Nicola Highland Davies, and Alan Howe. Economic Development and Culture Committee, Jocelyn Small, Mark Mishcott, and Melissa Vinden. Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, Hazel Mason, Cynthia Aristasbol, Don Maxey, Patty Thomas, Michelle Gattuso, David Nairn, Vivian Pathos, and Grant Spence. Heritage Orangeville, Jason Bertrand, Paul Mirren, Mark Mishcott, Gary Sarazin, Linda Addy, Hayden Daggett. The Homelessness Task Force, Roberto Alvarez, Erica Dunn, Trish Grab, Aaron Goodyear, and Terrence Carter. The Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee, Ali Al-Shelsi, Jessica Berry, Jack Bracken, Kai Young Weatherby, Paige Knight, Jocelyn Main, Braden Peters, Lily Robinson, Clara Shaw, Avery Wetton. The Official Plan, Grant Peters, Alana Vandervoort. The Library Board, Bill Ray, Sherry Marks, Jackie Demskur, David Wow, and Peter LeBlanc. The Police Services Board, Ian McSweeney. Sustainable Orangeville, Mark Whitcomb, Martina Rowley, Arden Woe, Graham Bryan, Wade Spears, Grant Spence, Miranda O'Connor, and Matthew Smith. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor McIntosh. Any questions or comments? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. We do need a motion to adopt the minutes of previous council meeting. It's the council meeting minutes from February 6th and from the February 13th public meeting. Can I have a motion to approve? Councillor Stevens and Councillor Sherwood, any questions or comments? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Next up, we have presentation from Mike Beattie. Is he on the line? Perhaps? No?
Hello, Mayor Post. I'm sorry, Mike. This is Allison Shield. Unfortunately,
Oh, hi, Allison.
Mike is not available. He's kind of mid-flight, and so things changed, and he was not able to be with us tonight. And I just found out about 10 minutes ago, so I'm going to stand in his place.
Okay.
I hope that's okay with everybody. I'll do my best.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Allison. I will turn it over to you then for the presentation of the Orangeville BIA's annual report.
Thank you. May I share my screen now?
Yep, you should be able to.
Okay, can you see the screen now?
Yes, we can, Allison. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And my other screen just went dead, so just 1 second while I pull up my notes. My apologies. Of course, it has to happen just at that very moment. So good evening, everybody. As I said, I'm standing in for Mike Beattie, who's the chair of the BIA. My name is Allison Shield, and I am the general manager. I'm here to present the OBIA's annual report and to request council's approval for the OBIA's 2023 budget, our new board of management slate, some OBIA constitutional amendments, and first I would like to present a brief report of our 2022 activities and a quick overview of our 2023 plans. The BIA's mission is always to unite and connect through collaboration and purposefulness. It is essential to everything we do and informs our decisions. As an organization that relies so heavily on others, working smarter together is always our goal. The BIA operates under 5 strategic pillars. These pillars represent our main areas of focus, and each pillar informs the other. Some pillars are more demanding on our financial and human resources than others, but they are all essential to our success. 2022 was a challenging year for downtown Orangeville and its small businesses. We started the year with COVID lockdowns and restrictions, followed up by rising interest rates, a third and fourth quarter disrupted by the Broadway Bricks project. By the end of the year, all restrictions were lifted and the economy was bruised but fully open, and we were left with safe new sidewalks and a fresh new streetscape. Organizational effectiveness is our first pillar. It's not the most exciting one, but it represents the bones of our organization. Administrative and general business operating activities and expenses such as office rent are covered by this pillar. Expenses under this pillar account for approximately 10% of our budget. And I should point out that BIA labor costs are appropriately divided between each pillar to better reflect how staff time is spent. Approximately 23% of staff labor costs are assigned to this pillar. Stakeholder alignment, our second pillar, represents the work we do in partnership with other organizations such as the Town of Orangeville, Central Counties, and the Blues and Jazz Festival. Stakeholder alignment means that we're all pulling in the same direction for the betterment of our community, and through these partnerships, we can stretch our dollars a bit further. Both staff and board members participate in stakeholder alignment activities. Stakeholder alignment activities account for approximately 2% of our annual budget and 12% of our staff labor costs. Pillar number 3, beautified space, is the charming face of our downtown. Our heritage buildings are made even more attractive by our new sidewalks. We enjoy dressing up for the seasons, flowers in the summer and fall, spooky ghouls at Halloween, and festive decorations in the winter. Supply chain issues and the Broadway Bricks project hampered streetscape beautification in 2022, but we did our best to work around the issues. By the fall, we were able to install most of our Halloween and Christmas displays and to create an engaging space for everyone to enjoy. The BIA is better together task force members volunteer their time to make downtown a more beautiful and interesting place to visit. Streetscape beautification accounted for approximately 13% of the BIA's 2022 budget and 12% of staff costs. Our fourth pillar, member engagement, is all about supporting members, keeping them informed, and encouraging them encouraging them to participate in BIA activities. It's always the heart of what we do and why we do it. We engage members in a variety of ways, including regular communications, holding contests and promotions, and member-focused activities. Member engagement was at an all-time high during 2020 and 2021, so keeping high level of engagement in 2022 when businesses were focused on returning to regular operations was a bit more challenging. Member engagement accounts for approximately 6% of the BIA's 2022 budget and 23% of staff time. Pillar number 5, our last pillar, is customer attraction, and it's all about showcasing downtown's welcoming personality. The fun we create with community events like Taste of Orangeville, Boo on Broadway, Joy and Lights tree lighting, our summer concerts, activities, promotions, and contests are all about showcasing the best of our downtown neighborhood. Annual contributions of $40,000 to the Orangeville Blues and Jazz Festival and $12,000 to Theatre Orangeville make up approximately 17% of our customer attraction budget. We also offer free parking to downtown customers in some of the public parking lots that the BIA contributes towards. And this parking expense equates to 30% of the customer attraction budget. This is our most labor-intensive and resource-heavy pillar and accounts for approximately 30% of staff time and 45% of our 2022 costs. Here's a visual taste of some of the things we did in 2022. After a 2-year hiatus, residents and visitors were hungry for in-person events. The Blues and Jazz Festival and Taste of Orangeville had record-setting years, and as always, the farmers market was a hit with locals and visitors alike. Despite the Broadway Bricks challenges and workarounds, Boo on Broadway and Joy and Lights tree lighting were all very well received. The BIA organized the Santa Claus Parade on behalf of the town of Orangeville last year, I beg your pardon, and we anticipate a similar arrangement for 2023. The BIA was successful in securing $50,000 through the Federal Development Tourism Relief Fund through Central Counties Tourism very late in 2022. The grant covered some costs that we had occurred in 2021 and in 2022 that had already been planned, but also paid for some new initiatives such as the purchase of some new environmentally friendly planters to add some annual color to the Broadway medians and new sound equipment for downtown's new place-making areas that were created with the Broadway Bricks new power towers. And so we'll be able to enjoy those in 2023. As mentioned, the BIA invested in the development of a new downtown Orangeville branding project in 2022. The brand is intended to be versatile and professional, but also playful and engaging. The new brand is based on our brand promise, I beg your pardon, that downtown Orangeville is Orangeville's most delightful neighborhood. We will fulfill this promise by fostering a place that is creative, artful, playful, entertaining, and welcoming. Our new downtownorangeville.ca website was recently launched, and our social media and traditional advertising also reflects this new brand. The Orangeville Farmers Market was also given a fresh new look. The BIA also updated its strategic plan in late 2022 in order to steer the organization in the right direction as we come out of the pandemic. The focus of the new plan was to review and adapt current operating and goal settings for smart growth. The plan can be found on the downtownorangeville.ca website. Downtown Orangeville's goals for the future align with our brand promise, to be renowned as a destination for arts, food, and entertainment, and to be a friendly, inclusive, and welcoming place that people are drawn to because of its authentic hometown charm. To achieve these goals, the BIA needs to embrace our strengths, invest in our people, tools, empower our members, and collaborate with other organizations and be open to the opportunity and change. And this leads us to our 2023 preview. Beg your pardon. The newly acclaimed Board of Management will continue to support staff and prioritize the effective use of BIA resources. Engaging and collaborating with other organizations is key to our success, and this will continue in 2023. Staff will seek new opportunities for collaborative partnerships that advance the BIA's strategic goals. The Broadway medians will get some extra color this year with the new annual floral displays. The new placemaking areas, complete with new power towers, will activate live music during good weather months. and seasonal displays will continue with some new additions. Our member ambassador will continue to engage members through friendly member visits, biweekly newsletters, etc. The BIA will continue to encourage retail members to extend their business hours into the evening and on Sundays to attract new customers. Extended operating hours will better support our own customer attraction efforts as well as Orangeville Tourism's efforts to attract visitors. Attracting people to downtown is a fundamental part of every BIA's mandate, but our focus is not just attracting people, it's on attracting customers. As you can see, we take a multi-pronged approach to our customer attraction work. Each piece builds on the other to make a really welcoming, inclusive destination where people choose to spend their free time because it's a delightful place to be. The new Downtown Orangeville brand will be fully engaged in 2023, and all customer attraction efforts will be designed with the brand promise in mind. The BIA special projects for 2023 are extensions of the work we have been doing for the past few years. The customer attraction initiatives are all designed to encourage new visits or to improve the customer experience. We also continue to seek opportunities, funding, and partnerships to build public washrooms for the downtown core. Every few years, we review the OBIA Constitution to ensure the policies are still appropriate, and we did that in 2022. As a local board of the municipality, BIAs are governed by the Municipal Act and the Town of Orangeville's policies regarding local boards. As requirements change, technology advances, and members become more involved in advancing the BIA's work, the BIA must evolve and adopt policies to stay compliant and relevant. For this reason, the BIA's membership approved some constitutional amendments at its annual general meeting on February 1st. The OBIA respectfully requests that Council approve the 2023 constitutional amendments as outlined in the submission package. There is a list of our current board slate as elected, or sorry, I beg your pardon, as acclaimed at the AGM on February 1st. We have 5 returning members and 3 new volunteers, and we're submitting these names for Council's approval. Finally, we come to the OBIA's 2022 financial report and 2023 budget, which were unanimously approved by the attending members at the BIA's AGM on February 1st. These documents have also been submitted for Council's approval. The BIA's 2022 preliminary financial report is a bit of a mixed bag. Inflation increased costs in some areas, but we were successful in saving in other areas to compensate. The influx of $50,000 from the FedDev Ontario grant at the end of the year allowed us to finish the year $93,252 under budget. The BIA's 2023 budget is built on a traditional year's programming with an expected total revenues of $522,050, total estimated annual operating expenses in the amount of $522,050, and a special project budget estimate of $26,300. The 2023 budget is based on the 2022 operating expenses plus expected inflationary increases that will be funded through the levy. For example, the contract price of installation, storage, and maintenance of the winter light standard displays, the snowflakes that you see downtown during the winter months, will be increasing by a whopping 75% over 2022. This price hike alone makes up for almost half of the 3.2% levy increase. The BIA's levy has not increased for 8 years. The last increase was in 2014, so we have held the line for a very long time. Considering Ontario's current inflation rate of 6.2%, a levy increase of 3.2% is required in order to maintain service levels and to deliver events for years to come. To help put the increase in perspective, there are 156 commercially rated properties or partially rated properties within the BIA boundaries. 130 of these properties, or 83%, are commercially assessed at under $1 million and are located primarily in the Heritage Core and adjacent streets. The average for the Heritage area properties is approximately $24 per year. The budget also includes some special projects funded through the BIA reserves that will support downtown's continued COVID-19 and sidewalk construction recovery. The BIA has a healthy reserve of an estimated $244,220 at the end of 2022 and an estimated $217,920 at the end of 2023. Reserve funds are intended for special projects, not annual operating expenses. This brings me to the end of our presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions the council may have at this time.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Allison, and thank you and the whole team at the BIA for everything that you do for our downtown businesses. Was there any questions for Allison on the presentation? Councillor Sherwood.
Yes, through you, Your Worship. Thank you very much, Allison. A great presentation and a great AGM. One of the things I just noticed in your slide, and I was just trying to see if it's in the support document that you're trying to get us to approve, but the term of the members you had to 2007, I believe it has 2027. I think it has to align with the council term for November 2026.
Through you, Mayor Post to Councillor Sherwood, the BIA's board term actually extends past council's term into January or early February until the AGM. I believe that is reflected in the. I'm sorry, I'm not sure the name of the bylaw that governs local boards and committees.
Okay, so I guess it would just be the council appointed member that would only sit on there until the term of council.
I believe so.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm getting nod from the clerk as well, so that sounds accurate. Was there any other questions for Allison at this time? No? Thank you very much, Allison, for being here tonight. Oh, Councillor McIntosh, you have something? No. Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here tonight and thank you for the presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity to present. I really appreciate it, and your ongoing support, councillors, and the town of Orangeville is very supportive of what we do, and it's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, we will move on to our staff reports, but before we do, I just wanted to reread the members of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. I realized when I looked at my notes that I tripped over some names and maybe missaid some of them, so I'm just going to reread the list just so the public knows which members were appointed. So it's Ali Al-Shalsi, Jessica Berry, Jack Bracken, Paige Knight, Aislinn Main, Braden Peters, Lily Robinson, Clara Shaw, Avery Wetton, and Kaya Wojcicka Weatherby. So again, that was just for the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. I just realized that I might have combined two lines of my notes, so just wanted to make sure that those were public. Okay, so on to staff reports. Item 12.1 is the service and lease agreements with the OSPCA. It's report CPS-2023-15. The recommendation in the agenda is that report CPS 2023-15 service and lease agreements with the OSPCA be received, and that council pass a bylaw to enter into an agreement with the Ontario Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals for the provision of animal control and shelter services, and that council pass a bylaw to enter into an agreement with the Ontario Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals for the lease of municipal lands and building located at 650 Riddell Road in Orangeville. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Stevens, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Was there questions or comments? No. Madam Clerk, did you want to speak to this at all? Was there anything that you wanted to highlight in that one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Everything is in the report. Just something to note in terms of the animal services, the OSPCA has flagged to staff that they are interested in extending the term of animal services by 2 years and then probably not further than that. They would be interested in continuing shelter services beyond that. So just in terms of future radar considerations, that will be something that the town will need to look at in terms of what that service will look like in a couple of years' time.
Thank you very much. Was there questions? Councillor Sherwood?
Yes, Your Worship, I was going to ask staff, is that something that you think we should be working on sooner rather than later? Because we know how quickly 2 years can pass.
Madam Clerk?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, absolutely, Councillor Sherwood. That would be something that we would try to proactively get a handle on sooner rather than later, especially if we're to contract out any animal services that fall under that umbrella. So certainly, yes, the intent is to try to transition as soon as we could, but within that 2-year time frame.
And just to follow up, Your Worship,
Yep. Go ahead.
have they put this out like kind of provincial wide because it's Ontario SPCA, or is it just specific in Orangeville? I find that very disappointment that they're not going to look after enforcement.
Madam Clerk.
So that's a great question through you, Mayor Post. Yes, it is something that is kind of provincially wide. Throughout the recent years, the OSPCA has withdrawn those services from various municipalities. So it's certainly not unique to Orangeville, and we're actually getting the benefit of getting an additional 2 years because they've actually withdrawn from a few municipalities, quite a few, most I would say already.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Sherwood? Was there any additional questions? No, seeing none, we've got a mover and a seconder. I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Item 12.2 is slightly changed from what was originally listed. So the new recommendation is that report CPS 2023-16 committees of council be received, and that council approve the amended terms of reference for the Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Committee as outlined in attachment 1 to report CPS 2023-16. And that council approve amended terms of reference for Sustainable Orangeville as outlined in attachment 2 to report CPS 2023-16. And that council directs staff to amend the terms of reference for the following committees as follows. Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Committee, increase the complement of public members to up to 8 members. Heritage Orangeville, increase the complement of public members to up to 6 members. The Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee, increase the complement of public members to up to 10 members. And Sustainable Orangeville Committee, increase the complement of public members to up to 8 members. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor McIntosh and seconded by Councillor Stevens. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. 12.3 is the Dudgeon Reservoir Upgrades, additional funding required, INS 2023-13. The recommendation is that report INS 2023-13, Dudgeon Reservoir Upgrades, additional funding be received, and that council approve the additional funds of $170,830.23 from the Water Reserve Fund. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Prendergast and Councillor Andrews, was there questions or comments? Councillor Sherwood.
Yes, through you, Your Worship, to either Mr. Coussellat or Mr. Curry. I meant to call you and reach out to you today, and I saw my notes to call Derek, and I forgot to do that. So one of the things I wanted to ask, I see it came in over tender, which isn't a surprise. The $75,000 for the contract administration, is that something new, and what exactly is it? Is that one of the reasons why it went so over budget?
Mr. Curry, going to take that one?
It's on your last page.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Sherwood. The $75,000 is for the consultant was to hire a consultant to do the study and the design of the repairs that need to be done, especially for the gate valve that's on the right of way.
Councillor Sherwood.
So that wasn't originally budgeted for in the initial estimate, correct?
Mr. Curry.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, it was.
Oh, and that was what we determined to be part of the original amount. Got it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Was there any additional questions for Mr. Curry? Nope. Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. 12.4 is the stop sign review on Alder Street, report INS-2023-14. The recommendation is that report INS-2023-14 stop sign review on Alder Street be received, and that council direct staff to prepare a bylaw to amend current traffic bylaw 078-2005 to remove the stop sign at Alder and Sherwood Streets and erect a new stop sign at the intersection of Alder Street and Glengarry Road, and that the bylaw be presented to council at the conclusion of the notification period as recommended by the Ontario Traffic Manual to update current traffic bylaw 078-2005 to incorporate the new traffic controls as outlined in report INS 2023-14. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Andrews, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Was there questions or comments? Councillor Andrews.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. And this question would be posed to, I presume, the General Manager, Mr. Koselleck. As for the communication for this relocation of the stop sign, can you just give me a very quick synopsis of how that will roll out?
Mr. Koselleck.
Through your worship to Councillor Andrews. With that, following the meeting today, if it's approved by council, we'll do a notification to residents in the area. We'll also be putting signage up to indicate that the stop sign will be removed at a certain date and when it'll be transferred. So that'll ensure the sign is done. And when we do move it, there'll be new signs up to make sure people are more alert that the stop sign has been installed. And we'll also have signs saying this will be the future site of the stop sign. So trying to educate the residents before it's being done. There's a little bit of a process and it takes probably about 6 weeks to go through the process, which will ensure that we have sufficient notification for the residents.
Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I don't have a question. First of all, I'd just like to thank you, Mr. Koselak, for working with us on this. To me, this was put through not necessarily because the warrant said the stop sign needed to be in. This was a demand by the community to go. Council acted quickly, and in review, we missed where it should go. And I think this is just recognition that this council, you know, when we find out we've made an oops, we quickly get on it, and so did staff. And I'd just like to thank everybody for reacting to this, because it did cause consternation, especially to that one intersection when you're trying to come out, and the people that live where the new stop sign is also created quite a bit of a hassle. So I guess my point is, hey, recognize when you've not done the right thing and try and do the right thing moving forward. And thank you, staff and the rest of council, for doing so.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Deputy Mayor. Mr. Koselak, so within about 6 weeks, the stop sign will be relocated. Is that correct?
Through Your Worship, it'll be about 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Yes, we want to get the notification up, make sure the signage up to inform everybody. Nothing worse than moving the sign and not having everybody educated on it. So that's about the time frame.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Was there any additional questions? No. Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Item 12.5 is discussing the road resurfacing on Broadway. It's a non-financial budget amendment, INS 2023-15. The recommendation is that report INS 2023-15 road resurfacing Broadway non-financial budget amendment be received, and that council approve a non-financial budget amendment for the changing of capital project number B0799.0000 road resurfacing on Broadway between Town Line and 3rd Street to Broadway between Wellington Street and 1st Street. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Sherwood and Councillor McIntosh, was there any questions or comments? No, seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Items of correspondence, there is a recommendation that the week of May 7th to 13th, 2023 be proclaimed as National Hospice Palliative Care Week, and that the following correspondence be received, which is the proclamation request for National Hospice Palliative Care Week. Can I have a motion, please? Deputy Mayor, and seconded by Councillor Andrews. Any questions or comments? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Committee and board minutes. There is just the one minutes, which is the Orangeville Police Services Board meeting minutes from November 15th, 2022. The recommendation is that it be received. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor McIntosh. Questions or comments? Councillor Andrews.
Thank you. I guess we were both at the same time, Councillor Sherwood. I'll go first. Posing the question to Deputy Mayor Taylor, who's also the chair of the police board, I'm encouraged by the information that's highlighted in November about, of course, the due diligence of our police force acting on some of the traffic infractions that have occurred. But one thing that has come up, and I know that it is topical, unfortunately at this time, I've had a neighbor who had their truck stolen. And there has been, of course, I think an effort by our local detachment to investigate and to effectively find a way to hopefully avoid this. But do you have any comments that you might be able to provide? I do have one other question, Madam Mayor, that I'll pose to the chair of the police board. But
Deputy Mayor?
Deputy Mayor?
Sure. So the police have been advocating for public recognition of these issues as they're coming up, and that is that driveway thefts are occurring and that sort of thing. I assume that's where you're going, right? You know, and I think everybody knows now that they're encouraging people to put their keys into a metal box of some sort to be able to stop people from being able to get at these keys because it's a short range. The police are trying, and it's been very frustrating for them. So as an example, they have warned about particular vehicles, you know, X company with X branding. And the companies are complaining to the police about signaling that that brand is an issue and threatening to sue. So it's very difficult for the police right now. They're really caught in this piece. But the good news is it's not rampant in Orangeville. However, it's to the point where everybody needs to be very aware that they've got these things, and they can just come right up to your front door and get the scan from your keys and open your car and leave. And so everybody needs to be aware of that. You shouldn't keep your keys by your front door anymore. If you have a box, you should put it in. They're trying with a public relations campaign. Speaking with the inspector, it's been frustrating, to say the least. So I'm not sure where it's going to go, and they're on it, but it's difficult.
And I know those that have been affected, unfortunately, have had to deal with the repercussions of this. But I'm pleased to hear the efforts of our OPP, not only our local detachment, but also across the province. It is one of those unfortunate circumstances that people have to also be educated on how they can avoid this. My other quick question to you, Deputy Mayor Taylor, is what I noticed in the minutes of the police board meeting was the grants. And I'm wondering if you might be able to give us a 30-second summary of some of the 3 grants that were in fact supporting.
Yeah, for sure. We didn't talk about this question ahead of time, so this will be off the top of my mind. There was 3 grants. One is a community safety grant. The other one was the victim support grant, and another one was a RIDE grant. So the RIDE grant is the clearest one. The RIDE grant is brought forward for, alcohol and stops and whatnot. I can't recall, Councillor Andrews, the amount of money that was given for that. But the RIDE grant is applied for by someone who, it's the Secretary of the Police Services Board, who puts in this grant money, and that grant money goes to offset the costs and ensure that we've got these services available. The other one was the victim support grant, and that is training to deal with victims. So the idea is some victims are a victim of a crime, do not want to come into the police station. They feel intimidated by a police station and that environment. So the police are trained to come to where they are and deal with them on scene of whatever trauma has occurred. Take that statement and work with them there, and then they don't have to make that visit. And then the third one is the community safety grant, and it's all about the mental health crisis and improving the collaboration time with officers. For example, if there is someone who has a mental crisis and they're, I'm trying to choose my words carefully to not offend anyone, but they're acting in a way that is violent or perhaps makes other people uncomfortable, the police have to stay with them in the hospital. And so they could be there 6-8 hours sitting there waiting. And that is a resource that the rest of us don't get to use because now that officer is in the hospital. So the work has come into play to reduce the amount of time that police would spend there, and that's kind of where the grant would come into play. And I think I could do a better job if I had more time to prepare, but that's essentially what's going on.
Oh, this is great.
It's this community safety grant to help with these people that have had mental issues as they relate to our police force.
Yeah, when I saw this on the minutes in our agenda, I thought just a quick overview, and you've done an excellent job in providing that. Yes, thank you.
I could give you the amounts as well.
Yeah,
But
that's okay. No, this just provides some clarity even to the general public.
Councillor Sherwood?
Thank you.
Yes, through your worship to Deputy Mayor Taylor. In the minutes under item number 15, I don't know if you want to look that up to be on board, but in the report titled Section 10, Objective Priorities and Governance, it's mentioned in there that the board was going to review and discussion and recommendations and consult with town council. That meeting was held on November 15th. 3 months here later, we've not had that discussion. What exactly is that about?
So yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So what is happening right now is our member Ian McSweeney is working to update all the policies and procedures of the Police Services Board. We have worked with Inspector Ward to get his approval on it. Then the next step is to work with the OPP And then the next step is to bring it to Orangeville Council. And again, it's a provincial board, so we don't get to rewrite. We can suggest. Member McSweeney, I think, is on version 18 or something crazy like that. So it's, I think, what he thought he was going to present, and that's why I kind of looked puzzled. I think that what he thought he was going to present by now, he's still not ready. It's taking a lot longer to be able to do it. But this ambitious project is going to come into play. He just sent me something 2 days ago, and I promised to look at it, and he said, don't bother, which I think means he's going to go to version 22 or something. But he's very involved in trying to make this a more succinct document. And I don't think council is going to do it. Like, we're not going to be inputters to it. It would be more about, I guess it would be the board. Yeah, related to it, we'd be an FYI, and it was more of a respect thing than anything, but just wanting to keep everybody in the loop. And then the other piece to that is I know there's times when Inspector Ward is going to come to council and just basically give a debrief. So we've talked about that too, and when can he come? And I think Mr. Osmond has been aware of that some sort of way, but at some point Inspector Ward will appear just as a tie, hey, we're here and this is the police department, this is what we're doing, and trying to relate better with council. We didn't do that in the last 4 years, and I think all of us would say that was probably a miss. But I have to tell you, this gentleman's done a great job. He's got 6 different police services boards he deals with in the county, and that's quickly coming to a head. Like, soon we'll have less. But he's a great communicator, and he's done a really wonderful job for us. So soon he'll come and link in, and hopefully the police services board will come too and have a conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Was there any additional questions? I like Deputy Mayor being on the hot seat there. No others? Okay, I'll call the vote then. All in favor of receipt? And that's carried unanimously. We do have 2 notices of motion that were given prior to meeting. I'll start with mine first, which is a support for the town of Caledon. The recommendation in the agenda is that okay, I'll just read it out here. Whereas driver and pedestrian safety is a priority of our council, and whereas Provincial Highway 10 from northern border of Brampton to the intersection of First Street in Orangeville contains various uses such as urban and rural, and experiences high traffic volumes, chronic speeding, and an increased number of commercial vehicles. And whereas the projected growth will continue to exacerbate these issues, and whereas our neighbors to the south in the town of Caledon have recently made a delegation at Roma to ask the province to work with the town to develop a terms of reference for a traffic and road safety study that would be funded by the MTO of the entire length of Highway 10 within Caledon. And whereas the town of Orangeville would benefit from such a traffic and road safety study being done, including the length of Highway 10 within Orangeville, therefore be it resolved that a letter of support be provided to the town of Caledon regarding their request to the province on behalf of council, and further request that the town of Caledon include the portion of Highway 10 that runs through Orangeville in the proposed study, and that the town of Orangeville staff be available for consultation as part of this project, and that a copy of the letter of support be sent to Premier Doug Ford, Deputy Premier Sylvia Jones, Minister of Transportation Carolyn Mulrooney, and the town of Caledon, as well as all municipalities in Dufferin County. I'm looking for a seconder first, Deputy Mayor, and then any questions or comments. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Post, for your leadership on this one. This has been an issue for a long period of time, and I would just like to say I think Caledon has done a great job in terms of advocating for change. I think that Mayor Creelman and Mono has done a great job advocating for change, and I know Councillor Andrews, you've been very involved as well, and so kudos to you. But this is the kind of sport that someone like yourself in the position you're in has to do. Our little stretch, you don't hear as much about, but we all know it's a problem. It's really the big thrust seem to be in Caledon and north of us, but you know, everybody is traveling at a very aggressive speeds through that highway. And the reality is it feels like you should, but you shouldn't because you're part of our town, right? So anyway, I'm very supportive of this, and thank you for putting this together. I think it's well done on your part. So kudos to you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Was there any additional questions or comments? Then I will call the vote. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. I will turn it over to Councillor Prendergast now, who has a notice of motion as well, and she can speak to it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I read the motion, I'm just going to give a little bit of background. So I put forward a notice of motion for a staff feasibility report on the implementation of a program that provides free menstrual products at town facilities and public washrooms via dispensers. There are many municipalities, including Mississauga, Brampton, Toronto, London, St. Catharines, Guelph, and recently Caledon, who have implemented this program. In addition to the Upper Grand District School Board, which they've recently implemented this program under the 2021 direction of the Ministry of Education, which strives to eliminate period poverty. And period poverty can be defined as a lack of access to menstrual products due to financial constraints, which is a health equity issue affecting persons who menstruate. And the notice of motion is as follows. Whereas the Red Movement is a local grassroots youth-led nonprofit organization focusing on advancing sustainable menstrual equity while reducing period poverty. And whereas the other Ontario municipalities have recently adopted programs that support the provision of free menstrual products in town facilities. And whereas the provision of free menstrual products contributes to gender equity by ensuring that menstruating individuals have access to hygienic products when needed. Therefore, be it resolved that town staff report back on the feasibility of implementing a program that provides free menstrual products in town facilities.
Thank you, Councillor Prendergast. Can I get a seconder for that motion? Councillor McIntosh. Was there any questions or comments? I just wanted to comment that I think this is a really great motion. Thank you for putting it together, and I look forward to the report coming back. Any additional questions? No, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously as well. I was just alerted by the clerk that I did miss receipt of the OBIA's presentation. There was no additional motion other than just to receive. Is that correct? Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to bring to the attention of council that within the council package, the BIA is requesting approval from council for the following: the 2023-27 Board of Management slate, 2023 constitutional amendments, 2022 preliminary financial report, 2023 budget, and to receive the audited financial statements.
Thank you. Can I have a motion? Councillor Sherwood, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any questions or comments? Okay, I'll call the vote on that one. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Was there any notices of motion today? No, seeing none. Any items of new business? Councillor McIntosh.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've had a number of people contact me, and I've been reading on social media, and I don't want to put Mr. Kochlak on the spot, but a number of the, yeah, here we go. A number of the signs for parking on one side of the street have still got bags on them. So I wonder if he could just update council on where we're at on those. Thank you.
Mr. Kochlak.
Through Your Worship, there's been a bit of a delay in the utility locates to put some of the poles in for some of the areas where we will have parking restrictions. I guess one of the areas is on Diane Drive. And what we were trying to do is wait to get all the signs up so we could unveil them across the town at the same time. Unfortunately, not having those posts in have delayed it. So we're meeting with our communication staff later this week. We're going to look at putting something out and unbagging a lot of the signs, but just letting people know there are more areas to come with more signs. Just to outline, there has been delays with putting in some of these signs, but we want to be able to move forward and keep the date of April for the start date with the warnings. So we will be discussing it, and we'll have more communication coming out to council and residents on that.
Thank you, Mr. Kochlak. Additional questions? No. Item of new business? Yeah, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is through you to Mr. Kochlak. Just a couple other follow-up questions. One is, in April, is it April 1st? And I always recommend not starting the program on April 1st, especially something like that. It always seems like something you don't want to do. And then the other piece is there is some difficult streets, some streets that didn't actually fit with what we wanted to do. And I'm curious, have all of those been resolved, or is there still some outstanding issues? And if there is a truncated list of issues, can we share those tonight so that people are aware, hey, we've got these 5 issues or 3 issues and we're working on them, or are we just good?
Mr. Kochlak.
Yeah, through Your Worship. We are doing a list right now of some of the areas where there are problems. We don't have the list tonight to be able to make it public, but we're trying to look at it and have consistency across town. Some of the areas, there's been restrictions done where you can't park in the area. So we're trying to look at those to see what can be done. We're looking at bringing a report forward in about a month's time to amend the traffic parking bylaw, and that way we can also change signage and everything else at those times. There may be a couple areas where We're going to recommend changing the parking. So we may leave the bags on those streets just so there's no confusion. Because they're,
Deputy Mayor?
And sorry, is the date April 1st really, or are we doing something different? It feels like it's a bad omen for the start of
Mr.
the
Kozlak?
program.
through your worship, the date is April 1st, but we're going to keep it for the first little while. It's just going to be for warnings. So when people do park on there, they'll get a warning sign made up that, you know, just to give a little bit of transition. We want to have an education component more than a penalty component, just to have people understand where they can park and try and work around it a little bit. We've had a lot of concerns from residents and some members of councils for trying to look at them thoroughly and have a consistent approach to it. So we're looking at trying to come back in March. Hopefully we can make it to the March meeting. If not, it'll be the first meeting in April.
Thank you, Mr. Kozlak. Councillor Andrews.
Thank you, Your Worship. As you know, I've had a past connection to our Indigenous community through the DCCRC, and just an opportunity to highlight to the general public that there are two events that are coming up in the month of March to take note of, and hoping that the general public will participate and learn about our Indigenous community and some of the art. For example, Our Story, Past and Present, will be held March 3rd to the 29th. This is a opportunity to see some featured artists such as Josh Morley, Sharon Rigby, Josie Thomas, and Janice Toulouse. This will be held at the MOD, as I call it, the Museum of Dufferin. And then they're also having a fundraising dinner that is being held on Friday, March the 17th at Menorah Park. And more information can be, in fact, found at the DCCRC by contacting the DCCRC chair at chair@dccrc.ca and or their website. So I thought just important because, as we know, our Indigenous community needs to be heard, and opportunity. I know that some members of council will be attending the gala coming up on March 17th.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews.
Thank you.
Councillor Prendergast.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a question for Mr. Osmond regarding the progress of the Alder Pool. I have seen cement trucks recently, and it's almost spring 2023. So I'm just wondering if the project is still on target, as I do receive a lot of inquiries from families, especially those Orangeville Otters who are having to go out of town for practice. Thank you.
Mr. Osmond.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Prendergast and the public on Alder Pool. It's going along quite well, actually. So we had anticipated doing a announcement this past Friday, but unfortunately the weather got in the way on Thursday, and we had a little bit of a slowdown. We're meeting again this Friday, and we're going to make an announcement. And the intention is that we would get ourselves completed certainly sometime in late March, early April. And as I said before in one of the meetings, is that it takes about 3 weeks to a month to do soft piddling of the work over there and get our staff trained, these kinds of things. We don't anticipate opening the pool for lessons until the summer lessons, but we will do have a soft opening where we have a lot of rec swims, those kinds of things, training portions. So the new GM is going to be busy activating and launching all this stuff. But we did meet with the contractor. We got a lot of updates on Friday, but not the ones we were looking for in terms of the backfilling. Just to give you a quick update, the pools are in, the stainless steel pools are in. The main pool, that's the lap pool, requires a stainless steel weld to the flooring, to the basin, and that's still underway. All the backfilling is happening, all the piping is done. All the pours for the slide and for the piping that goes to the spray features on the deck are all in play now. So what's going to happen in the next little while, that's why I'm saying March is a pretty busy month, is we're doing the deck work. And we got to do a lot of work to get to the deck work, ceramic tiles, those sorts of things. And all the features come into play. Everything else is be ready to go. So on Friday, the contractors promised us that we'll have a full report, and the actual dates that we were looking for, actual dates that we can say to the public, you know, put on your Speedos, you're going in the water on this date. So that's where we're to. It has been quite a challenging project, I can say the least, but it is going to be one worth waiting for. So I'm looking forward, like you are, to get it finished, and we'll have a really good update on by this Friday. I don't know if the GM wanted to jump in and add comments, but that's where we're to right now. Thank you.
Ms. Savage, do you want anything?
Through you, Mayor Post. Yes, so we will have a site meeting next Friday, as the CAO mentioned, and I know that we're planning on doing some communications and some marketing to the public in the coming weeks once we can secure those details. But it's very exciting.
Excellent. Was there any additional items of new business from anybody? No, seeing none. Okay, we will move on to question period. If there's any members of the public connecting via telephone, I will check with our IT team. Anybody on the line? No. If there's any members in the gallery, you can approach now. Mr. Whitcomb. If you just want to approach, give your name and address and make sure the mic is on, please.
Mark Whitcomb, 34 Blind Line, Orangeville. Want to thank the members of council for turning out on the coldest night of the year, which wasn't the coldest night of the year. That was a phenomenal show of what Orangeville community can do for ourselves and by way especially of helping to look out for the people who are less fortunate than most of us. And if you take the number of walkers, I was at the very end. I was number 206. I didn't think that was my age, but there were something like, I missed the number, but something like 80 volunteers to organize that walk. And there are, is it 125 or 200? How many people volunteer for the food bank?
175.
175. So that's just a huge number of people who are involved to support that. And I didn't count the number of names, Your Honor, that you read out for the various town committees. I'm honored to be on the Sustainability Action Committee. And I have things that I want to work on. One of the things that's really key for all of those committees is the kinds of connections that we have with not only you as council members, but the town staff as well. And that ranges through the whole range of town staff. And I know from experience with Sustainability Orangeville that many of those actions require money. So one of the things that I want to raise even more forcefully than I have in the past is the whole issue of the town's urban forestry canopy. And in particular, not just adding new trees in new subdivisions, although there's lots that I think needs to be improved about how we do that, but also this really urgent issue of the old trees in the downtown core that are very dramatically declining. And I know where I live, there's an old farm lane maple that's had its roots cut by the sidewalk that was put in and makes a huge difference, but that's killing that tree and the utilities that have drilled right through the roots of the tree, and that tree is going to have to come down soon. And sugar maples are some of the toughest of trees. That's a significant amount of money, and it's a significant need and focus for the town. And so I can urge you with not just Sustainable Orangeville, but all of the other committees that need to be able to work with town staff and work with you. And really, I think it's your job to facilitate those kinds of connections so that the large number of people involved in all these various committees have the opportunity to make a difference, to continue to make a solid difference in this town. And if you think about the number of volunteer hours that are put in this town, it's enormous. It's huge. And that's not just volunteer hours by people like me who are volunteering, but as is apparent from the talk at the food bank of town staff volunteering. And that is one of the things that makes this town livable. So thank you for doing what you do, and keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. Just to build on what you said about the coldest night of the year walk, I want to thank town staff. Mr. Curry, who's here tonight, put together a team of town staff as well. So council was represented, town staff was represented, and we also heard that members of our town staff have been volunteering at the food bank every morning, once a week, or a morning a week to help cut up vegetables and prepare food, and that's pretty awesome. So it was great to hear from Heather that $120,000 was raised at this year's coldest night of the year walk, and I haven't checked to see if there was additional ones. And I thought it was fascinating as well to hear that there's 25,000 hours that are put in volunteer work just in the food bank alone. So every year. So that's a lot of hours. So it takes a community to make that happen. So thank you for that. Was there any additional questions or comments? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Whitcomb, for bringing those points up. I'd like to talk about the tree canopy too, if I could. First off, I guess last year or the year before, Councillor Peters schooled us all on the importance of the tree canopy, as did town staff, quite frankly, and we all agreed that that was super important, and moving forward, we were going to continue to put money into that. Your comments about downtown are key. Like it's absolutely correct. Zina Street, where I live, we've lost 3 major trees in the last 6 months, and there's more to come down. So the key is that these trees need to be replaced, but you can't just do it on where the deputy mayor lives or in the downtown core. To your point, if you look at the new subdivisions that we have, the trees in that area could be a lot better. And to me, if you want to get the maximum dollar for your property and be environmental while you're at it, you would plant trees. You know, it's environmental to do so, and the beautification of neighborhoods. It's just a wondrous thing. So I just wanted to reassure you, we don't have Grant Peters sitting here anymore, but the rest of us understood what he was getting at. And you've got advocates that are sitting here, and a new person who's going to be a great advocate for sustainable Orangeville. So rest assured that those comments are heard, and I don't think there's going to be any issues here in terms of protecting the canopy of this town.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Sherwood?
Yes, through you to Mr. Whitcomb, one of the things that you suggested is about all of us working together, different committees. One of the things that I'm looking at is from the Heritage Orangeville aspect is introducing some type of protection of heritage trees, not just heritage buildings. And this is something that Councillor Prendergast and I have had a brief discussion about, and we'll have much more dialogue going forward. Rather than just protecting heritage properties, I think we really need to start putting that discussion for protecting heritage trees as well. So stay tuned.
Great comments, Councillor Sherwood. That's exactly right. Natural heritage matters too. Was there any additional members of the gallery who wish to ask a question tonight? Seeing none. Okay, we'll move on to bylaws. There are several bylaws here. So the recommendation is that the bylaws listed be read 3 times and finally passed. The first one is a bylaw to authorize the entering into an execution of a purchase agreement with HDR Inc. for the development of an electric bus feasibility study and fleet transition plan. A bylaw to authorize the entering into an execution of an agreement with the Ontario Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals for the provision of animal control and shelter services. A bylaw to authorize the entering into an execution of an agreement with the Ontario Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals for the lease of municipal lands and the building located at 650 Riddell Road, Orangeville. And a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Orangeville at its closed and regular council meeting held tonight, February 27th, 2023. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Andrews and Councillor Prendergast. Was there any questions or comments? Councillor Sherwood.
Yes, through you, Your Worship. I just wanted to get clarification with the clerk. Do we need to add a bylaw regarding the approval of the BIA's budget, or will that have to get further authorization later on? But I believe we do have to pass a bylaw for that.
Madam Clerk?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I will look into that. You might be correct off the top of my head. I don't want to say one way or another, but I will put it on the radar. And if that's the case, then it'll come to March 20th.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any additional questions? Then I will call the vote. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Councillor McIntosh and Councillor Stevens, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.